Order of business, call the roll.
Commissioner Davidson,
Here.
Commissioner Dodd,
Here.
Commissioner Irvin,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Phillips,
Present.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Chairman McAdoo.
Here,
We have a quorum.
thank you. Next, approval of minutes, Vice Chairman Anthony Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes of the December 21st, 2024 meeting and find them in order, so I'd move to approve.
Motion to approve, do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Next on the agenda, Forensic Center update, Mayor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be my third time before a committee, and I think I've already spoken to all of you once before, so I'll be brief. We are in the process, the mayor's office, of bringing this forensic center back to the attention of the county commission. We in particular wanted to bring this to the attention, obviously, of public safety, where we will be at the appropriate time in the next few months looking for a recommendation to move to budget. But at the same time, we understand the necessity that this particular committee, property management, would have a role in understanding the concept and the design, especially as the architect Bart Klein moves forward with his engineering designs, and we want to make those available as they become available to this particular committee, and then also Health and Ed, that particular committee, where at some point in time the operation of the facility might become relevant to that committee. I have nothing to report to you with regard to the Forensic Center other than that Bart Klein and Associates is involved in programming the facility right now with Ms. Martin, Denise Martin, and as soon as we have a rendering of that facility and start to, the drawings come together, if this committee so chooses, we'll be glad to bring those to you for review, and so you can ask questions. Like the other two committees that I presented, as you go forward and you have questions, please submit those to the mayor's office so we can answer those and be prepared with good answers at the next appointed meeting. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have on this topic.
Any questions of the mayor on the Forensic Center? Okay, next on the agenda, transfer station update.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think Commissioner Irwin had a question.
Oh, I didn't see him. Go ahead.
You mentioned renderings. Are there updated financial models available?
We will have those available. No, they're not. Those are not available yet. They will be available at the appropriate time. I want to be careful and respect the committee roles process. I probably won't bring those to this particular committee. That's not to say that I couldn't, but I want to respect the role of each committee assignments. I'm glad the chairman is here of the commission, so I will lean on him to make that determination, and the chairman of those respective committees. But when those become available, we will actually make those available to all county commission members before we even get it to the point of bringing it to the commission floor. But we will have those available, they're just not ready yet.
Are there joint ventures or anything like that in the world? I haven't heard the updated spiel, so no disrespect.
No, that's all right.
I'm just trying to get a sense for, are there joint ventures in the works, or is this a Rutherford-only deal, or what's the thought on that at this point?
So there are two components to this. Obviously, there's the brick and mortar component, and what I've instructed Bart Klein to do is construct us a facility not to exceed $15 million, which would be at or around 15,000 square feet, which would be what I call lock and key. In other words, it's all FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment installed. So it's ready to begin operation. So we're looking at a not to exceed number of $15 million. I've spoken to Michael Smith about this on numerous occasions. As a matter of fact, we spent many hours. Our current budget situation allows us to fund this internally without any negative impact to our current budget, the 23-24 budget. And so we will do that. And we will maintain that because I know that we have a number of other expenditures on the horizon that are looming, like schools, and so we are very cognizant that this cannot have that kind of negative impact on those other appropriations that are going to be very, very necessary. I think this is a very necessary piece to the growth of Rutherford County, and I'll be making that case to you, ladies and gentlemen, in the next few months. With regard to partnerships or those kind of things, I went and spoke to Governor Lee on December 20th, and he declined to assist Rutherford County in this initiative. I have subsequent to that spoken to Mayor McFarland and City Manager Craig Tyndall of Murfreesboro, and I've spoken to Mary Esther Reed and Brian Hercules from Smyrna, and we've begun, and I want to make sure this is clear because I've already been misunderstood. We have begun introductory discussions about the feasibility about Smyrna and Murfreesboro partnering with Rutherford County. Those are introductory discussions. And so while I'm hopeful, I have nothing to report as to quantifying that. But we are having those discussions, and they are very interested in having those discussions because they believe, like I do, that what is good for Rutherford County is also good for Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, and Eagleville, and they do want to participate. Whether they can participate or will participate is what we've got to determine.
So what were Governor Lee's thoughts on this?
They are concerned at the overall revenues coming into the state that are below projections, and the governor told me in no uncertain terms he is not authorizing any expenditures outside of what he is currently proposing in his budget. Nothing. I offered to Governor Lee, I said, what we would like to do is a one-for-one match. In other words, for every dollar that Rutherford County puts up in brick and mortar, we would like the state to match that dollar for dollar. And he said he could not do it. Not to exceed $10 million. He said no.
What's the deal with, is it Shelby County or Memphis, or that recently shut down or sent letters or something?
Yes, they did not shut down. So Shelby County lost a forensic pathologist, and the Association of Forensic Pathologists, or some kind of regulatory group, says that each forensic pathologist cannot perform any more than 250 autopsies in a year. My understanding is they had a forensic pathologist leave, and so Shelby County out of Memphis was servicing 12 counties, including Shelby County, and so they wrote 9 letters of dismissal to 9 surrounding counties. Those 9 counties in West Tennessee are now bringing their autopsies to Davidson County. So Davidson County went to servicing 53 counties to now servicing on about 61 or 62 counties, or a full 2/3 of the entire state. And so that puts us in a very, very precarious position.
And is that a temporary situation, or is...
Not to my understanding. Well, I don't know how permanent it is, but it was permanent enough for them to send letters saying that they could no longer honor contracts with those 9 counties. And Memphis suggested they come to Davidson. How long that lasts, I can't tell you.
Nothing else at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Johnson?
Mayor, I think you're as aware as we are that we need to add on to the, add another drive-through to the county court clerk office down there on G Street or Weekly. And we also need more parking, which I'm thinking probably in front, but we definitely want to keep that in mind and not encroach.
What we're doing with that particular land site is one of the things that, and Chairman Phillips and I have had this conversation on more than a couple occasions, with the properties that we have in inventory, and that we have a limited number of properties, quite honestly. With those properties that we have to be very careful about how we plan for those, because whenever we put a public facility on that property, we need to account for the growth of that facility, not just now in the next 3 years, but what's going to happen there in the next 10 to 20 years. So we need to think you're correct. We need to think a little bit downstream. So as we plan to put the forensic center out on Weekly Lane, we're very cognizant of the fact that there's going to be an EMS facility out there at some point, and might have to expand those services. I'm very well of the parking situation. So all that is being taken into consideration.
If I could ask one other quick question. Any other county,
Ed, Commissioner Irvin?
any other counties that might be willing to partner or share in the overall burden, so to speak? In other words, if we guide the process, but anybody else willing to share in the cost, try to tie in some relationships where we at least have some additional assured autopsies or whatever coming our way?
Absolutely. That is and I'm just going to be very candid on that question, because if I have spoken to county mayors in Middle Tennessee, especially those that might be interested in service, because to be quite honest with you, those counties that are also being served by forensic medical or in Nashville are experiencing the same stress on those services that we are. We're just experiencing them at a higher level because we have 375,000 people in our community, as opposed to Coffee County, which has 60,000, or Murray County that has 110,000. You see what I'm saying? So, but as I have talked to those mayors, there is a genuine interest for them to partner with us in doing their autopsies. And if we're able to do that, especially at a competitive price point that forensic medical is doing, it most certainly would give us the opportunity in defraying many of our operating costs. It is our hope and belief that we can make this revenue neutral or expense neutral to the county, and may even generate where a profit to assisting in retiring whatever debt service there is related to this project. So the answer to that question is yes.
Do you have updated data on that?
I'm sorry?
Updated data in terms of Rutherford County and the surrounding counties, number of autopsies, et cetera?
I do not have that off the top of my fingers, but it's easily attainable. Let me give you a particular metric, okay? It's a rough end metric, but typically there's one autopsy performed per 1,000 people. So if we have 375,000 population, you can expect that this county's doing on or about 375 autopsies a year. So if Coffee County has 60,000, they're doing 60 autopsies. So that's a general rule of thumb, but that's not an exact number. But if you want to just kind of swag a number in there, I've been told by Ms. Martin that's a pretty good metric.
Has anybody else expressed an interest in sharing in the capital cost, the upfront cost?
I have not approached anybody other than Murfreesboro and Smyrna and the state about sharing capital costs.
Are there any plans to, or?
Quite honestly, I haven't thought about approaching another county, because I'm not sure why another county would do that when what they're looking for is the service, not the capital cost. If you have an idea on the advantage for them sharing in the capital cost, the brick and mortar cost, and how that would be advantageous to them, Mr. Commissioner, I'd really like to hear it.
It's the same reason that we'd be doing it instead of sending them all to Nashville. It's basically locking in availability, quality, things along those lines for other counties in the Mid-State region. That's what it is. That would be the advantage to them if they were a partner, so to speak, in the upfront costs as well as the operating costs. It could do the same thing for them that we, I think, hope to do versus the folks up in Nashville.
The reason if you're talking about partnering with the state in Nashville.
No, I'm talking about county, 2 or 3 counties, 3 or 4 counties getting together, putting together a plan so that everybody in that 3 or 4 county region, so to speak, can contribute a certain amount of money each individually, reducing the cost for us, for each of them, ultimately, as they try to figure out, how are we going to handle autopsies, et cetera, as we continue to grow and the region continues to grow. Maybe we should, approach some other counties, give them the same opportunity to contribute to the capital. Then they have the quality assurance and they have the, same priority level that we seem to be seeking in the sense of building something here as opposed to up in Nashville,
And I can
going with Nashville.
I can certainly do that, and, but I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to exhaust the relationships that we have with Murfreesboro and Smyrna before I do that and see that where it takes us. What I don't want to do is I don't want this to be a multi-county solution where we then have a multi-county oversight board and then we lose the authority and control over a facility that is in our county. I just don't want to do that. It's easy for me to get to a relationship with Murfreesboro and Smyrna and Laverne because they're a part of the same community. Coffee County, Warren County, Murray County, they're not part of this community, and it's just going to be transactionally, I can see, difficult for us to find where that common ground is if that facility is in Rutherford County. I will say this, if Murray County approached me about partnering with them on the capital costs and the subsequent operating costs of the facility in Murray County, and they were in control of it, I would be hesitant.
Excuse me, some of the figures that I've heard, especially this week, relates to an increased cost in those autopsies continually. I think
Yes.
sometime over the last 5 years, we've increased from $1,800 up to in excess of $2,500.
That is correct.
You
Per
correct?
autopsy right now. And if we had our own center, just to perform our own autopsies would pretty much cover a lion's share of the operating cost of that facility itself. So if we got autopsies from surrounding counties or other counties, make it absolutely neutral, point where it would not be a burden on the taxpayers of the county. The biggest concern we have right now is brick and mortar. And if we can get creative and come up with a way to do that at some point in time, if we can create revenue, could go toward the debt service to help pay some of that. So it's an opportunity that the mayor's exploring, and it's just part of where we are. We're the 4th largest county, and the other 3 largest counties already have a forensic center. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Knox County is pretty much on the verge of maxing out the number that they can take.
Correct.
So if they can't take any more, and Nashville, I don't know how many more they can take. So not only is this something that we've got the plan in place, if we can pull this off at some point in time, growth that we will continue to have, plus the growth of Middle Tennessee, the forensic center that's on the table right now would be large enough to handle that growth. It's almost like the transfer station. The transfer station, we built it, and by the way, I don't know how we can build a forensic center, a sterile forensic center for $15 million. And it costs us $20 million to build a dump. You know, I just, some of those things just don't add up to me.
I hope that was a rhetorical question because I don't have an answer for you.
But the deal is that we've been working on this for 8 to 10 years. Commissioner McAdoo knows that. And some of the original plans have fallen through. New administrations coming in. Commissioner State was really involved in certain things, and MTSU's been involved in certain things, but their budget restrictions now are a lot different than they were years ago. So this is something that we can pull it off. The brick and mortar is going to be the challenge. I think the operating cost is going to pretty much take care of itself as we get into the...
On the operating costs, Denise has a mock-up business plan that the operating costs for the forensic center are actually less than the operating costs that we are currently experiencing now by having our autopsies done in Nashville. There will actually be there's a reduced budget to the county commission. What our goal is to reduce that budget to budget neutral. But we're not ready to present that yet. We're still wanting to validate some of the information we got to make sure it's reliable, and we'll present that to you as soon as we get it.
That's good information. Also, we left out one thing, transportation. Transportation now in the budget, over what, couple of $1 million is transportation only?
I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but it is a significant, transferring bodies is a significant cost related to the operations of the medical examiner's office.
Other questions on forensic center?
So the weather delayed us, but they have started putting up silt fence and removing the trees this week. That's from what I understand from Bishop. They'll start pushing dirt probably here. Again, we've had Chairman Dodd, we've had rain, we've had ice, we had snow. It's January, Chairman Dodd. I mean, do we build anything in January in Tennessee? Not too much. And we're not surprised. That was all accounted for. But as you know, Moody Contracting is doing the site work. Bart Klein and Associates, again, is doing the architectural drawings on the transfer station. When we start to get those architectural drawings, I will, with permission from the chairman, I'll be glad to bring those along with Bishop and kind of show you what's going on there and the layout. Just don't have anything to show you yet. We will be doing a groundbreaking on the transfer station, we think, sometime around the 1st of March. So when Lisa Kay tells me what that solid date is, I'll be letting you know. And of course, I would love this committee and all commissioners participating in it. That's a pretty big deal. So that's all I've got, unless you have questions.
Questions on transfer station? Not, while you're up here, next Florence single road property at Chamber update.
I talked to Patrick Kamek at the Chamber last week, and he's asked if we would be willing to have the property annexed. And I said, well, it depends on who the suitor is that's looking for the annexation. We would prefer not to have it annexed prior to a suitor. And so that was just a general inquiry. I didn't get the impression he was acting on behalf of a suitor. But the Chamber right now is actively engaged in marketing that property. They're real excited about the property. I just told them we had somebody make an inquiry as to the property. Could they bring a large recycling center over there? And I said, I don't think that's the best use of that particular facility, that acreage. And because the jobs they were going to bring in were just above minimum wage. I want us to, with that value of a piece of property, I want to make sure that what we do literally helps lift the county, the wage table, the benefits, and the environment. So from the mayor's part, we're going to be choosy, and then when we get somebody that's interested, obviously I'll be bringing it to this committee for the full commission for more in-depth discussion. We don't have an offer or suitor yet, but I can tell you that Patrick's doing and the Chamber are doing a really good job. So,
Any questions on that property? Commissioner Johnson?
Give us an update on the existing buildings on the property.
the barn, I haven't done anything with that, Commissioner. To be quite honest, it's not been a real high priority on my list the last couple of 3 months with the other things that I'm sure you're aware that I'm engaged in. Patrick Kamek tells me it's not an issue or an obstacle to marketing the property. If it ever were to become an issue at all at any level, of course we would move with all due haste. But because he said it wasn't a particular issue, to be candid, I've just had other fires that needed my attention.
I understand. The reason I brought it up is we were in the process of cleaning up the old lamb house where the lambs used to live, and we put that on hold because we had a price to do that, and we put that on hold thinking, well, we'll just clean it all up at the same time once those buildings are gone. So
You've got me at a disadvantage. All right, with the Lamb House. Adam, is he talking about the brick house that was moved and the trash that was left there? What's he referring to? Can you come up here, Adam, and help me out here?
that was the homestead.
Do you mind if I
No.
bring Adam up? Adam knows about this more than I do.
coming
up
Do you mind,
anyway.
Commissioner, if Adam speaks to this?
But the lambs that had the truck stop across the tracks also lived in that house. That's why I call it the lamb house.
Are we talking about the brick house that was moved or another house? Another house. Okay. Okay, so don't stand over there. I need you to
Come on
stand
up
over
here.
here.
Get over here to the
Come-
mic.
Get on up in here, Adam. So, answer this man's question.
Mayor, he's referring to the original home that was there, centered to the parcel that was removed several years ago.
Okay.
And foundation and some remnants of that construction still exist.
Okay, so, and Patrick hasn't brought that to my attention as being an issue. Patrick Kamek and Paul Latour and I talk on a pretty regular basis on that. So I will reach out to them to find out if that is an obstacle. I will make sure that's not an obstacle to marketing the property. I think that's the reason for your inquiry. Am I correct? Okay, let me reach out to them and say, hey, want to double check, got a question in front of the commissioners that want to make sure that the cleanup is not an obstacle to marketing that property, and if it is, we will absolutely take care of that.
Other questions?
And if it's not, it's just a moot point on the other. We'll just save that money.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other questions?
Thank you, committee.
I would like to thank the mayor for giving us that update. Next on the agenda, Director Dodd, Facilities Maintenance Report.
Commissioners, we'll begin tonight's report with our Las Casas Public Health and Safety building. The site work remains at 90% complete. The roof work remains at 90% complete. We're still awaiting fascia, soffit, and flashing. The concrete swell work is ongoing. The stone veneer walls are now complete. CUD has installed the domestic and the irrigation water meters. The gas line and that meter have been installed. The fire sprinkler piping, the HVAC duct, the rough end is complete. We're awaiting inspection. The condenser and the condenser pads were poured last week. The exterior windows, doors, the roll-ups have all been installed. The exterior lap siding, it's ongoing at roughly 90% complete. The interior plumbing, the electrical fixture installation is ongoing. The ceiling grid is almost complete. It's approximately 90%. And the MPE trim out and the low voltage is ongoing. Last month, we reported at roughly 50% complete. We're about 70% complete now. Grid and some of the lighting fixtures are in. They've got the majority of the wall coverings in, so we're getting geared up for millwork, plumbing fixtures. That 4-week look ahead is going to consist of, we should see the polycarbonate windows installed on the outside, the upper level, the HVAC startup, door and hardware installation, lapboard siding, we should see that sealed, prepped. They should start painting that. Epoxy floor coverings, interior lighting and plumbing fixtures, which I just touched on. We should see that completed within the next 4 weeks. There are currently no outstanding change orders associated with this project. Our move-in date remains for the first week of March 2024, and this completes my report on the Las Casas Public Health and Safety Building.
Questions on Las Casas?
Looking at some showers there. If not, Commissioners, we'll move on to the Walter Hill location. Again, we're still running approximately 2 months behind. That site work remains at approximately 80% complete. The site fire line and the vault installation are now complete. We're awaiting our final. The roof work is ongoing, approximately 80%. The shingles are down, and the eaves are boxed in. The roof is effectively dried in. So with last week's storms and inclement weather that we experienced, the interior of the facility there at Walter Hill took very little water on. I mean, outside of your doors and a few remaining windows that were not dried in. So we were very fortunate to get the roof on this thing when we did. Light gauge stud walls are now complete. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-in is ongoing. They are close at 90%. The exterior stone wall veneer is ongoing. That's roughly 60% complete. And I actually have a couple of side images there of the scaffolding. You can see they're getting real close on the front. They're working their way around to the rear. That 4-week look ahead, we should see the sprinkler system and the plumb-in complete. They'll request for inspection. Exterior window and door installation completed. And I wanted to show how clean those exterior windows look. They have the with the weep holes, the proper installation of the drip ledge. Just give you an idea of how well the project is coming along and how good it looks. That's the interior fire bay there on the right side. So they'll be getting geared up for spray foam insulation shortly. The above ceiling MPE continues, as you can see from those images. It's roughly 50% complete. Also, within the next 4 weeks, we should start to see some interior wall coverings. We should start to see drywall, some primer, maybe possibly some first paint coats. We should start to see the ceiling grid layout and that installation take place. Currently, there are no delays to report associated with this project. You're looking into the living room area there inside the tornado shelter underneath the mezzanine. So they still have some support beams in while the concrete properly cures. It took on a tremendous amount of water over the last week or so, week and a half. So there are no outstanding change orders associated with this project at this time. The electrical switchgear and panel continues to track. That delivery is still for mid-February, and our move-in date remains for the second week of May of 2024. And that completes my report on the Walter Hill Public Health and Safety Building.
Any questions on Walter Hill? I'll continue.
Commissioners, you asked for a report on the Christiana, the Del Webb location last month, and I didn't have one. I still don't have a lot of information, but it was brought up last week at PBA, and a representative from the project manager with KSA, they think that they're going to wrap up those special inspections in that geotech, and they're supposed to present those reports at next month's PBA meeting. So hopefully this time next month I'll have a report and hopefully a date for them to as well, just like like the mayor said with the transfer station, that hopefully start a date for pushing dirt out there as well pretty soon. The contractor has already, American Constructors, which is currently building Las Casas and Walter Hill, they're already under contract, and PBA has awarded them the Plainview Christiana location. So that contractor, they're anxious to get started. You know, they're here, they're right in the thick of it. So they're hoping to wrap the Las Casas project up and move that crew just follow right in behind with the Christiana. So I think we're gonna be breaking ground fairly quickly. But that's really the only information I have on that location at this time.
Commissioner Dodd?
Remind me, where is the Del Webb location? Is it on their site on the Highway 96?
Plainview and Christiana, Plainview.
The Dale Webb.
If I said Del Webb, I misspoke. But, yeah, Plainview.
And then you said
Yeah.
Plainview and Christiana,
Yeah,
so great,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So
Christiana.
Plainview's doing some geotech, some.
They are.
soil-
They're completing that geotech, and they're doing some samples and some elevation stuff. If you remember correctly, a couple months back, they changed the location of, where they were originally going to place it there on 231, and then they changed the location. So the architect had to kind of regroup and start over from scratch there with that site. Same plan, obviously. So really, it's just some special inspections that have to be completed. So hopefully, maybe this time next month, I'll have maybe some dates to be able to present to you.
Any questions on Christiana? Questions for Director Dodd?
Any issues getting through this past week?
Well, I anticipated that question. So, last week, it wasn't terrible. We experienced a few frozen water lines. Most of all of them were related to our fire stations. That kind of comes with the territory. A lot of our buildings, we can cut the water off, we can drain water lines and whatnot. We don't get to do that. We don't get to do the same PM type stuff at all of our fire stations as our 24-hour facilities. But we had a couple frozen water lines. Station 251, which is unoccupied right now. That was our training facility on West College Street. And I don't know if you're aware of this. We haven't really touched on it, but we recently renovated the old Kittrell volunteer fire station, which was the old school. We recently renovated that and turned that into the new Rutherford County Fire Training Center. It's pretty nice, and we don't have a lot of money tied up in it either. So we're pretty happy with that. I know that Chief Farley and his staff are tickled with it. We're still doing some cosmetic finishes to it, but we went in and we painted, we put in some lighting, we redid a bathroom, we put in a ton of IT stuff. They have some really nice TVs, some really nice classroom setting. We had to do some rewiring of some electrical panels. We did that in-house. We worked on some HVAC units that they needed. But yeah, it's a pretty nice facility. So in the process of leaving West College Street vacant, we had a line froze. We haven't fixed it yet since the building's not occupied. We just isolated the water and shut that down. We had a hose bib freeze. It did not bust. We thawed it. There was no damages. That was at Station 252 on East Jefferson Pike. Station 57, we had a backflow freeze, a backflow valve. Those are generally outside. They're tough. We try heat tape. That doesn't always work. They have the insulator, the hot boxes on them. They don't always work. We repaired that. We had a battery that finally went down on one of the generators that was at the SORT building at 585 Fortress Boulevard at Station 60. We replaced it. We did have a couple issues at 20 North last week. It was on the city side. We had that meter, believe it or not, it froze twice within 3 days. Murfreesboro Water and Sewer came out. They had the main line supplying 20 North froze. It busted the meter. So they repaired it. They thawed the line, repaired the meter, and it wasn't a day later and the thing froze and broke again. It was just so cold. But just, it's par for the course. We worked around it. Murfreesboro Water and Sewer, very responsive. I mean, they were out there within 45 minutes working, trying to thaw that line, replacing that meter. So I think we had water back in the second time. I think we had water back in the building in about 2 hours. So nothing major to report here. There were a couple lines that froze, easily repaired at Lane Ag. One was in the community center in the barn, outdoors. But yeah, that's pretty much what we had to deal with last week, in addition to roads, streets, trying to keep those things clean throughout the storm, trying to keep our buildings open and safe, and accessible. But nothing here on this list, just couplings, the water meter, of course, Murfreesboro Water and Sewer took care of, but just some couplings and some fittings, nothing major. So we were lucky. I consider that a win-win across the board for no major leaks or flooding failures. But that's pretty much last week.
Questions? All right, thank you for a good report. Director Dodd.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next on the agenda, parking garage. County Attorney Dick. And I want to tell the committee, I asked him to come up here. Got a lot of questions that need to be answered about this parking garage. Some say it's got to be public, it's got to be left open. Some say we can go ahead and do this. Best thing to do is get the county attorney up here to explain what we can do and what we can't do with that parking garage so we can proceed on. County attorney?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know how satisfied the committee will be with some of the answers because I'm not so sure I have them yet, okay? I know that this has been a topic of discussion for a little while now, and I haven't really been privy to those, but I'm happy to look into those for this committee. I know that what we're talking about is the Judicial Center parking garage. If I have talked to Adam a little bit about this in prepping for meeting with you tonight. I understand that there were some issues maybe dealing with security and some trash. I think, and Adam, nod or shake your head, but I think that some of those issues with security, at least in terms of patrol and also trash, have gotten a little bit better and improved. Okay, so now we're kind of looking at the parameters that we can regulate the activities that are going on inside of that parking garage. So we know that it is a public infrastructure project, and so we have to be cognizant of the access that can be provided to the public. Of course, at the hours that we're operating would be, number one, and if there's anything that we can do to regulate or limit that to a certain extent. I know that there are questions about reservations of parking spots for different employees. Those are questions. There's questions about, I think, gating, the ability to do that, the ability to charge. So I'm happy to look into those just general items. If there's anything else that the committee has that's specific for me to go and look into, I'm happy to do that. I was delighted to hear that there were these issues with patrol and trash, and those have seemed to be getting better on it. I think that some preliminary things that maybe could be useful and beneficial is signs to be put up there with regard to abandoned vehicles, towing consequences, things like that. And I'll certainly be looking, that's something I do want to look into, and if we have the ability to do that, which I suspect, it's county property and we need to protect it, and we need to make sure that there's no illicit activities going on in there and that it's safe. We need to take those measures and put some teeth behind it if we can. So I'm happy to report back to you, and if you have any specific questions, let me know now so I can analyze those as I go through this with Adam and the mayor's office too. As he reports to you on the property and what's going on, and he's got general care of what's going on with the county property in the day-to-day operations.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Dodd?
think you alluded to gating it, so, but I'm going to ask very specifically, can we barricade all the first floor openings with attractive black powder-coated chain link like MTSU did at Bell Street? Frankly, it's kind of attractive. Can we gate it and lock it and open it during business hours is one very specific question.
The first floor for access to the entire.
The pedestrian access, the car access, and the openings that are accessible from the ground floor for people jumping in, just that first floor, completely barricade the first floor. I don't think we need to gate the perimeter of the second floor. You'd take.
So Commissioner, just two things if I understand it. So you've got the gap in between the cement wall and the bottom of the second floor wall that's opening that people can come off the insurance building right next to it, for example, and hop in.
Correct, exactly.
So that'd be issue one.
Correct.
And then issue two is the actual two entrances on either side, whether those can be gated during certain hours of the night.
Yes.
Okay.
And the two entrances are automobile and pedestrian.
And by pedestrian, are you referring to the doors that lead to the stairwells
Yes.
from the outside?
Yes.
Okay.
The exterior pedestrian access to the elevator bank.
Okay.
Go to the exterior of the building and gate it, lock it, and have somebody unlock it like we do city parks every morning at daybreak. They unlock them.
Okay.
The second specific question is, it just escaped me.
Try and catch it. It's floating away.
It'll come back to me in a moment, hopefully.
No problem. Commissioner Johnson, I believe, got a question.
Just during our tour over there, during discussion, it was mentioned that maybe we look into the possibility of, that's not my idea, and I'm not pushing for that, but it was brought up that we could make it a paid parking, and we could have reservations for like county employees or whatever that have a ticket or whatever like they do in Nashville and get it validated, something along that line.
Okay.
Did it come to you, Commissioner Dodd?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
As our attorney suggested, I reached up there and grabbed it. And Mr. Wilson had the same question. Abandoned cars, we had some concern. Do we have the authority to tow? Do we have to call the city police department? Do they have to tag it for so many hours? So the specific question is, what is the process to declare a car abandoned and have it removed? And what is the duration of anybody to park, frankly?
Adam, just curious, is there anybody on besides law enforcement that is patrolling county property at night? Okay, I'll ask the mayor's office. I can get some more details on that. Okay. Abandoned cars, ability to tow, and do we need to involve the city to tag it, or can we just take steps and measures to tow after so many
Yeah.
hours?
How do you
that
declare
there's-
them to be abandoned? There are cars with flat tires, there are cars with no tags, there are
I mean,
cars with broken
it's a
glass.
hazard, right? I mean, it's a nuisance, and I would think at some point, and people messing with the property in there, breaking into stuff, sleeping in the cars. I mean, I get it.
Any other question, Commissioner
One more.
Davidson?
So on the top level, there was actually a company that's parking their fleet cars up there and taking up a lot of spaces.
Adam, did that get taken care of? There was at the top of the parking garage, there was maybe some fleet vehicles of a local company. We won't name the company or anything like that. That was parking vehicles up there. Has that been remedied? Some of this stuff. I mean, I get sometimes calls from Adam, and sometimes it just takes a little nudging. And, we don't need. And so, but I think that's what happened, and it got fixed. So thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Phillips?
Mr. Christensen, in some of the answers similar to what's happening down at the county city parking garage, so some of the answers may already be in place for that facility down there. So whatever we're doing, we don't need to do two different things. Something works one place, it should work at the other place. So they may have a parking authority that's dealing with that situation down there. I'm not 100%
And one thing
sure.
that the city has that the county doesn't is they've got their city court, and they have the ability to pass municipal ordinances that a ticket can be given and it go just up to City Hall and pay it. Just by law, the county is, we have some type of authority like that, but it's a little bit, it's not as easy as that. You know, we've got to go to county general sessions court, and it's a little bit elongated process, but we can, it's not saying we can't do it. And so if there's an ability to put some teeth behind stuff, you know, let's see what we can explore and do it. Hopefully some of this stuff can be remedied. I hope if the answer is, well, maybe we can just put some fencing up, and if we do want to limit the parking hours, we have the ability to do that. Or if there's signage up warning towing after so many hours of abandon, and maybe those first couple times where we're taking stuff off, maybe that'll send a message, I guess, to make sure that, not a message per se, but this, you know, we want to protect the property for the betterment of the citizens and not let it be degraded and get dirty. Understood.
One more, Mr. Chairman, just to
Go ahead,
clarify.
Commissioner Dodd.
And Mr. Adam Dodd reminded me, we had discussed whose jurisdiction is it? The City of Murfreesboro Police Department, Rutherford County Sheriff's Department. Is there any specifics on whose jurisdiction?
Yeah, I can, I'll put that on here as just an overarching thing here, without really analyzing it. It's hard to say definitively, but I mean, it's county property, you know, so just like at your home, who's got jurisdiction over your home? The homeowner does, number one. If there are crimes being committed within your property, local law enforcement, whoever's the first to respond, I mean, I'm sure that the county sheriff's office would want to come and help. You know, they're part and parcel of the county, so I'm sure they'd want to come and help. I'm sure that the city of Murfreesboro has exercised and given speeding tickets and everything outside of the city's jurisdiction. I can't say that, but if they see a crime being committed and they're, you know, say they're extraditing out a person to a different county and they see a crime being committed outside of the city limits, I think they're going to try and do what they can to thwart the crime. So I think that the city of Murfreesboro would want to help us here to the extent that there's criminal activity being pursued in there. But in terms of civilly enforcing anything, I think that befalls on the county as the property owner, who's also just the government that owns the property, right? So.
One thing, if
Commissioner Phillips.
that was approved for the city of Murfreesboro a couple of months back, I think that plan dealt with 3 different parking garages, if I'm not mistaken. So there has to be some type of a plan for those facilities as well. So some coordination with the city of Murfreesboro as to how they're going to handle those situations would probably be a lot of good answers for us as well.
Happy to explore that with the city legal. I will say, at least off the cuff, that's a little bit different in that it is a private development. Yeah, and so they might have the ability to do certain things and charge a fee. And I don't know if they are or not, you know, but certainly something to consider. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay. Any other business to come before us tonight? I just want to bring up one thing. We didn't have a tour tonight because of during the bad weather, we probably will not. But still on the agenda to have a tour of the Correctional Center. I think that was the one we had on, Correctional Center. And just as soon as we can set it up, we will. And if you look at your agenda, it will be highlighted on the agenda if we're having that tour. But as of now, it's bad weather, we're not having any tours. Any other discussion? Not, meeting adjourned.